you, Jacqueline. It's an honor to have you on our call today. It is really, really amazing that you found some time for us, and you'll spend a little bit of time with us. And we've been looking forward to this all week.
Oh, you're too kind. I'm actually very honoured to be asked because, I don't see myself as a top leader. People that work closely with me will know that I'm just who I am, and sometimes maybe I don't know. I'm just who I am, and if I can help anyone or can share any wisdom with people, I'm delighted, and I'm absolutely honoured to feel that somebody like yourself, because I do really admire your training and what you do, and you're an excellent trainer, and even more so the fact that English is not your first language, and you very, very much talk sense, and anyone that listens to your training, plugs into your training, I have to give you that. Your kudos, you've done an excellent job with your trainings.
You make me blush,
and I'm not,
Jacqueline.
Well, I'm not just saying that because, again, as anyone that knows me knows that I'm not necessarily the most diplomatic person. I genuinely mean this.
Fantastic,
you
fantastic.
definitely do fantastic work.
Now we're going to have some questions, and I can see that people are already writing questions for you, Jacqueline. But before we do that, as usually, I'd like to ask you just to tell your story, because I know so many people who are just getting started in this business quite often misunderstand how this business starts and how do people start, and sometimes they just say, oh, but Jacqueline just got lucky, and everything just came to her easy, and we have to work so hard, because it's so difficult for us. So why don't you tell us, Jacqueline, how did you get started, how did you came across network marketing, and why did you get started with FM?
Okay, cool. When I reached the age of 40, I'm not telling you how many years ago that was for me, and you just get to the time in your life. I decided that when I had my children, who are now 20, 21 and 20, both my husband and I had decided that, I would stay at home, look after the children, and he would pursue his career. So obviously, as the kids got older, I realised that I needed more in my life than just looking after the children. But unfortunately, when I had my son 21 years ago, I damaged my back, I damaged my coccyx, and it meant then that I was limited to what I can do. I couldn't sit in a seat properly. So, I had to actually give up my job. But it was a fairly good job that I could work part-time, so I couldn't really work outside my typical job. So I did eventually, when the kids were maybe 8, 9, go back to work. And I was working in kind of dead-end, low-paid jobs, really, because I had to work part-time. I had to fit. I'm feeling some background noise here. I've got a headset on. I'm not sure if it's.
Okay.
Can you hear that feedback?
I can't hear feedback,
right,
Jacqueline. I can hear it fine.
It's okay. It's fine. I'm used to talking to myself anyway. So anyway, a range of dead-end jobs. Going nowhere. So when I reached the age of 40, I decided to set up my own business, and I had built up a good reputation in the industry I was working in for telemarketing. So I did set up a telemarketing business, and I did do quite well. But I realised that it was very stressful, and really I was never really driven by money or a financial challenge, so really, when I was first introduced to network marketing, at the age of 41, I think, and it was a video company, and right away I could see the power of video, and how the future was going to change with video. So I eventually get involved, thinking everyone else would see what I was seeing, but they didn't. But it did open my mind to the residual income, and and obviously it changed both not only myself but my husband's thinking about money, wealth, lifestyle, etc. So it opened up a whole new world to me. So again, realised that company wasn't going to work for me, and then get involved in a weight loss company. Again, it was fantastic products. However, it was an American company. The products were expensive. It was difficult getting them to the UK. We had to pay all sorts of tax and shipping. And again, after maybe 6 months or so, although I had achieved success, that I genuinely felt that although I could do it, because I had certain skills based in, you know, my telemarketing experience.
Yeah.
But what was worrying me that nobody in my team were making much money, and I really hand in heart felt that I couldn't pursue that business. And at the same time, I had been introduced to FM, so the FM opportunity, I know this might sound really horrible, and please, I don't mean to offend anyone by saying this, but I started FM initially because my daughter was going to Zambia with the school. She was only 15 and she had to raise £4,000. So we kind of thought this was a good exercise of teaching her about business, and the FM product range was fantastic. You know, it was well pitched, well priced, and we thought, yeah, we can do this. And that's how I got into FM. I genuinely never looked on it as a business, and I'm embarrassed to say this now, but the truth be told, at the time, it kind of looked, I kind of thought it was a bit beneath me.
Yeah.
You know, I just looked on it, it was low end, not much money in it, and, you know, that was it. So we did do FM for a few months. What I would say to you, and anyone listening here, and I know a lot of people are in this circumstances, I could not get any sales with FM in the beginning. Although I was a good salesperson, but I found it really difficult with my group of friends to get FM off the ground initially. My sister, who is now, she just reached Gold Magnolia, I think in October, she worked with a lot of people in her office and her sales went through the roof. And I was struggling within my water market, but she was having no problem selling the products. So even if, it just shows you, even if people who maybe have a slow start to sales, you know, they don't need to give up. And it was really quite interesting that 4.5 years later, one of my best friends has finally bought a bottle of perfume from me. And it was only after our daughter was given a bottle by my daughter for her birthday party, and she loved it, that the mother has now bought a bottle of FM fragrances 4.5 years later. So, you know, so anyway, so that was fine. So again, when I started it, didn't really see it as a business, but somehow, you know, I had at that point been introduced to a trainer called Danny Johnson. I went to see in London, and Danny inspires me, and I just realised that I wanted to share what I had learned, not just only from Danny, but network marketing, and I really just wanted to, you know, share what I knew at the age of 40 to loads of people at the age of 20, 21, and hopefully it would have such an impact in their lives at a young age that completely can change a generation. And that's my passion in FM. It's always been my passion in FM. So everything else I achieve is secondary, because I just love lighting a spark underneath people.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is fantastic. Yeah, amazing. You know, and yeah, like you said, I think a lot of our, you know, our work in FM is more about educating people than selling to them, because a lot of people don't understand, you know, why FM perfume is better or things like that. So it's a lot of it is educating people, and some people are slow learners, you know.
Yeah. But bear in mind, back in the day, as my daughter would say, we didn't have the tools that you guys have got just now. I mean, I've got girls my business within a year that have achieved more than what I achieved in 4 years. Just purely because we've got such a wide product range now, and we have these tools. And, you know, there have been people like myself that have learned badly from the mistakes we've made, and hopefully can share our experiences to our team members, so therefore they no longer have to go through that learning curve. And I think one of the challenges we had with FM way back in the beginning was, you know, it was a Polish company, and most of the top people who were earning all the money were all in Poland. Really, Irene Oliver, this network owes a great debt, in FM in particular, owe a great debt to Irene Oliver. Because I know when I met Irina, and Irina is not in my team, I'm not in her down line or whatever, but I remember the first time I met Irina Oliver, and I asked her straight out what she was earning, and I knew right away that I could believe what this woman was saying. And at that point, I just reached the Pearl Orchid level, and I remember speaking to my husband and thinking, this is worth me giving my time to. You know, and, you know, and Irina, like, you know, myself no airs and graces about her. You know, she didn't put herself out as if she was anything better than anyone else,
Absolutely.
and that's what impressed me about her. And she's always been a great friend and a great support to me, you know, throughout the whole length of time in my business.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, she's my mentor, you know, in a lot of cases, you know, and she's amazing. Now, there's a first question here, and probably you've answered it already, but maybe you have more than one. Somebody's asking, who is your inspiration, Jacqueline? So who inspires you in this business? So Danny Johnson obviously being one of the obvious ones, but is there any more?
Before I met Danny Johnson, well, if I could just be myself, I get into sometimes bother in FM because I just say it as the way I see it. As I said, I'm not a trained leader. I've not had loads of experience in network marketing. I've never been a successful business leader or in any company. You know, I haven't never really achieved great success in anything in my life. Luckily, I'm married to a man who between us have become very successful. However, when I first got introduced to network marketing, I was told that I had to be a student. So I went away and brought every book. You know, I've got John K. Lynch, I have Dummy's Guide to Network Marketing, my first year in network marketing by Mark Riardell, listen to Brian Tracy, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, you know, all the kind of typical ones, and a lot of them it just left me cold. It just didn't do it for me. I live in central Scotland, and I don't know if there are any Scottish people on the call, but a lot of the people I come from and where I work, where I live, we're quite a cynical bunch, and a lot of the stuff just didn't fit into my psyche. And you know, it was actually one of my friends I had worked with in a previous business that introduced me to Danny. But what I get from Danny, people don't get this, is it's duplicatable. You know, I don't want to put myself up there as a big leader, because if I'm the big leader, people will look for me and look at me. Whereas if I've got, you know, if I say that my mentor's Danny Johnson, let them access the same expert as I have.
Yep.
You know, they don't have to pay anything. And I love Zig Ziglar stuff. I really like Zig Ziglar. I like Jim Rohn. I've seen some Les Brown stuff. But again, a lot of it is down to the personality types.
Exactly.
I'm quite, if you can probably tell from me, I'm quite a excitable person. I like fast moving. I like direct, straight talking.
Yep.
I kind of say no bullshit, and Danny gives me that. In the FM, my inspiration, again, Irina is a great inspiration to me. But I've got a lot of people on my team that are massive inspirations. I've got Kirsty Walsh. You know, she's a young girl that started FM. She'll be so embarrassed if she hears me talking about her. She started FM within a year. Most people won't even know who Kirsty Walsh is, but she's built a business of 6,000 people within just over a year.
Fantastic.
Last month in December, she earned as much as I did at Pearl Orchid. Just amazing growth in the girl. Got a young girl, a Kaylee Aikens, young baby. She got 21%. She's got a young baby who's been in hospital 23 times since he's been born. And there's nothing stopping this girl. So sometimes you can get as much inspiration from people in your team, in your downline, or in your team, then you know, that's what makes it worthwhile for me. And when I see some of the effort people go to make FM work for them, it just makes me want to work all the harder.
Absolutely. I remember when I first started, and my sponsors, Baruta and Ian, and they said, oh, you know, it's okay when you earn the money and it's all fine, but when you see your team members start earning money and getting achievements, that is when, you know, it kicks. And I thought, yeah, whatever, I just want to earn money, you know. But then in reality, that's what happens, you know, when you start seeing your team members achieving it and succeeding at it and earning the money and getting the results. That is really amazing, you know, because at some part, you know, you've influenced them in getting that.
Yeah, and it's true. Sometimes you see your team as babies, and you go through the stages with them, and then bear in mind I've got 2 young adults, and some of them get to the point where you're just like, oh well, you get through the terrible twos, the teenage years, and you know. But at the end of the day, it's you're always there for people when they need you, and they
Definitely.
might not, you know, as I say, having a couple of teenage 20 and 21-year-olds, it's not always easy either. But it's that, I suppose, it is that unconditional, you know, love type thing. It's not quite the same with your team, but you know, you're there for them when they need you, and they might, some people, as I say, some people, you know, you work with them and they go their own separate ways, and that's fine as well, because like that, everyone has different mentors,
Yeah.
everyone has different people they wish to follow within the business, and that's fine as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Another question from Jonathan. If someone was interested in FM and wanted to know more, but they were not local to meet, how would you best give them the best information about this opportunity and how it could benefit them to join?
Right. Again, I initially, built my business. I did not build it in central Scotland initially.
Yeah.
I got such a bad reaction to the products to start off with, and truthfully, because I had been in two failed businesses before,
Yeah.
I really purposely did not want to build locally. And again, what I realised in my previous businesses, I had what Danny Johnson calls an adult daycare centre, where basically it was it was almost like a social club.
Yeah.
People were dropping in, you know, and nobody was producing anything from one meeting to the next. So I had purposely taken a decision that I wasn't going to build locally to start off with.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole business was built over the phone initially,
Okay.
and you know, by relationships that I had built up with people, you know, previously. A lot with FM in the beginning is down to luck, and I'm sorry if people disagree with me, but in truth it is. You know, if I remember when I first started out in network marketing, and all these really successful people had been in network marketing before, and they had contacts that they had met from previous businesses. So it made it so much easier. But when you were brand new, you know, and I only get started maybe 7 years ago, so I didn't have any contacts. None of my moral market was interested in becoming business people. So I kind of found other business people through local business meetings, etc. And we built it then through our moral markets. But I didn't have any big leaders or really any people of great influence who was interested in getting involved with the type of business I was involved with. So I felt I had no option. And again, we didn't have Facebook at that time. So very much it was a case of, you know, people you contacted before, people you maybe met on maybe eAcademy or LinkedIn, and just built up rapport and built over the phone. Now, even to this day, I still don't do a lot of local meetings. You know, I've moved my business to like Facebook, but I always initially either speak to them through the phone, and I've recently done a training on the Danny Johnson script, but I've adapted it for Facebook. Let me explain this as well, and the reason for this. I'm a trained telemarketer. I had my own telemarketing company. I was very successful. So I could come on the phone and speak to anyone about anything, just instantly pick up their tone and be able to know where to go with it. But no matter, my team used to ask me to listen into my calls, and I would do it, but that would actually be off-putting for them, because they would think, I can't do that. She's really, really good at doing what she's doing. So where I've seen the idea of working with a script, it was based on the fact that if now, see if anyone's listening to this and if they get it, because not everyone gets this. If I'm reading from a script and I've recruited you from that script, when you see the script, you will recognise that that's what I used to sponsor you into the business. So what do? Read the script.
Absolutely.
So initially, the script I used, the script I used, I adapted for not only the UK, but the UK market, but also the FM business. So effectively now, if I have got someone interested in FM, the first thing I do is arrange to call them, go through the script with them, and probably 90% of the times I actually sign them into the business as a preferred customer without actually sending them any information. because the whole nature of the script is purely designed to build rapport, build trust, find out what their needs are, and find out whether they're interested.
Amazing.
So even on Facebook, and I did it last week, it was quite funny actually, because I was going to do a training on it, and I was starting to try and create a training, and then someone answered an ad, or it just came, I don't know how they came through to Facebook, so I just decided I would put it into practice with a live person, and I'd done the same script that I used on the phone, done it as if all through Facebook, and if anyone from my team are listening, they can completely validify what I'm saying here. So the person that joined up, I told her when I spoke to her on the phone what I had done, and I used that as a training guide for the people. So people in the team know that I'm not just coming up with something based in theory. What I'm actually doing is what I do.
Yeah.
You know, and the people who choose to listen to me and understand what I'm doing can easily duplicate it.
Amazing.
So I'm happy to send you, you know, this information. Obviously I've taken the person's name out, but this is exactly the same principle. And again, I think the Danny Johnson script book costs about 20 quid. Now, there's lots of different scripts there, but it's not so much the scripts that's important, it's the training. It's the training series that goes with them. It teaches people about the tonality. It teaches people about, you know, just how they, you know, their delivery.
Yeah.
I could spend hours and hours and hours trying to teach my team that. But for that 20 quid, you know, I say to people, buy it, use it, and if you don't think it's worth it, put it in eBay and you'll get your money back on it, you know.
Absolutely.
So,
fantastic.
So that's it. So hopefully, and then if at that point, and this is just again my philosophy, if they're still needing lots of information, even they can't make a decision after that point, the chances are, and again I do the personality training, they're more likely to be an emerald personality type.
Yeah.
So therefore I just bombard them with lots of information and leave them to it until they make the information, because they will have to go through all the information to come to the same decision. But most other personality types will make that decision on that first phone call.
Fantastic, fantastic. Another question, how do you maintain your golden orchid level, and do you keep this every month?
No, I don't. And in the truth, my business, and again this is part of the issue, and again I found that the business does fluctuate. It does, obviously from, you know, certain parts of the year. See, I chose to build my business. When we first started with FM, unfortunately I didn't listen to the advice of Anita, and I didn't listen to the advice of Roy, who was my sponsor, and I built my business building 5 wide and then building down.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately that's what a lot of our leaders had done at that point. So my initial leaders are no longer active in FM. So I have to build underneath their leaders.
Exactly.
So this year, I had made a decision that my focus now with FM is to build my team in Scotland. This year I took out almost a year out, working with a leg that was already my strongest leg, to try and discover how social networking worked. You know, obviously there was a complete different dynamic that went on in my business in the last year.
Yeah.
I seen how social networking was working, but I couldn't quite find out how that we can duplicate that. So I actually, probably in the last year, I spent about 80% of my time on a leg underneath a young girl called Mel Amy. Kirsty Walsh is part of that leg, Rachel Beattie, Vicky Austin, and we just looked at the dynamic, what was going on in that group. Now, I've actually apologised to some of my other team leaders, because if the truth be told, I've kind of neglected the other parts of my business.
Yeah.
But I think Facebook and social media is such a massive part of how we're going to build the business forward. So the short answer is no, I don't maintain my golden position every month. And the truth be told, I've worked out a system whereby my team can actually earn more from 21% in peril than the golden orchid without being under the pressure. Because the thing is, with golden orchid, you can't depend. It's not down to you. You can work with your team, but if one of your leaders decide that they want to take a year out or decide to do something else, that's up to them. So truthfully, if I was, and I teach this just now with people, that they build their business wide, and the leaders will appear. And even
Exactly.
if they're not lucky enough to have a leader, they get their second position to 21. That
Yeah.
makes them peril. They get an extra position, and they can build the business up to golden without having to depend on anyone else. So you don't find yourself in the situation I am, that
Yeah.
maybe if a leader quits, you've got to start again and build another leg up.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
I've never done this business to reach golden, and I think this is so important, and this is one of my bugbears with FM, and people do it without thinking about it. When we joined FM, we didn't join FM to get to diamond or pearl or whatever level. You joined FM because you had a why. It could be an earnings why, it could be a
Exactly.
freedom why, and so it's so easy for people to think, I want to be in the Orchid Club. And I see some of the people in the team, they're like, I want to get to peril, I want to get to 21%. And I say, well, what do you want to earn? You know, and I think as leaders, we have to be careful of the message we're giving out. That
Yeah.
the Orchid Club doesn't mean to say that you're a superstar. You
Yeah.
know, it just, people need to focus on what they're wanting to, what their earning goals are, or what their, social goals, or whatever their goal is. Because
Yeah.
we can achieve that without being a member of the Orchid Club.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's so important to also for people to understand that it's not, it doesn't always go just up, months change, etc. December, November it can be fantastic, January can come down, February can go back up, etc. And sometimes it is like a plate spinning, whilst you're working with one team, the other one, gets a little bit low, then you start working with that team, the other team goes down, and it's just, one of the things is that it's an ongoing process, the way I look at it.
Irina always asks me when I'm getting to diamond, and and again, people that know me know this is true. I'm very fortunate in my financial position that, my husband's got a very good job, we're financially very secure. Again, go back to I've got Danny Johnson to thank for that. Since we started listening to Danny Johnson 5 years ago, our family income has doubled. We've cut back in wasteful spending, so now we're more or less, apart from a mortgage that we could pay off, but it doesn't make financial sense we don't have any debt. Our children are up, so I'm very secure financially. Now, when I see people coming into my team, and please think, I'm not saying this to make myself look good, because this is what I genuinely believe, I could be reaching diamond. Last month my team points were something like 920,000 points.
Did everybody hear that? Can you repeat?
920,000 points.
Amazing.
But I sometimes come across someone, and I've had a couple of decisions to make. You come across someone, they're going to be brilliant, they could potentially be a peril, and I've always got to make the decision, where will I put them in my team? Now, I know where to put them to make me diamond, but that's not always the best thing for, first of all, the person coming in. It's not always the best thing for the business, and it's not always the best thing. It's just not the right thing always, sometimes. And sometimes you have to look at, you've maybe got a fantastic team leader who's really, really working hard, but just hasn't got that, as I call them, your FM business is a deck of cards, and you can turn over your deck of cards, and you need your aces, your queens, your jacks, your queens, and sometimes no matter how hard you try, all the people you bring in are maybe ones and twos. But if I've got somebody I know is really working and no financially needs, an extra £100 a month would make a massive difference to them. An extra £100 a month or £200 a month to me isn't really, I don't need it, I don't spend what I have anyway. So a lot of what I do is the right thing, and I think it's difficult to try and judge somebody based on a position, because it doesn't necessarily, I mean, I said to you before, but Kirsty earned more than me in my first line, my first position at Peril than I did at Golden.
Fantastic.
So don't always just judge somebody on what they're doing, what position they've achieved. And again, as I say, I know this year I said to Rita, I'll get to diamond at Christmas, but you know what, my priority now is to help my sister and a few of the team in Scotland get to an earnings target of maybe £500–600 a month. If that helps me get to Peril, fair enough, it helps me. but sorry, diamond. But if it doesn't, you know what? I didn't join FM to become a diamond. I joined
Exactly.
FM to earn £1,500, £1,500 a month that could allow me to contribute to the family, that I could fit round the current set of circumstances, which is this back problem, etc., that I've had, and I've achieved that. So now I just
Absolutely.
want to genuinely
Amazing.
help other people to
And
get what they want to do.
another question, how many people have you got in your team so far, and how do you maintain your team? Any advice on how to do this?
Well, as I say, it's very difficult. I think in the group totally there's maybe about 15,000 people, but I'm not quite sure how many are active. But
Amazing.
I've got a very strong leg. You know, I've got one very, very strong leg
Yeah.
that probably accounts for maybe more than 90% of my team.
Yeah.
So therefore, like, you know, Kirsty, for example, has built a sales force of over 6,000 people within the last year. A lot of people are using social networking
Yeah.
to build a team, which means they can get very high numbers, but very high churn rates as well.
Yeah.
So it's just finding the balance. You know, it's just finding the balance. I don't think anyone has all the answers with FM. I think we're such a young company. The company expanded at such a dramatic rate, and also because of different cultures and different languages. What works in maybe Poland wouldn't work in the UK, wouldn't work in Lithuania. But even within the UK, most of my business is worked in the north of the country, Scotland, Yorkshire, you know, Lancaster, Ireland. Now, I can honestly tell you that the cultures are so diverse within the UK, different places. Probably, and I don't mean to offend anyone with this, and please, I'll have to say I don't mean to offend anyone. I probably had more in common with, you know, guys from Lithuania and Poland than I probably do from guys from the south of England. You know,
Oh,
just
yes.
think, you know, so it's not just different nationalities, but it's different parts of the country. So
Yeah.
what might work in maybe, say, Essex certainly wouldn't work in Scotland. So we're still learning. And
Yeah.
I've said to Anita for years that, you know, FM is still very much concentrated, and there's certain parts of the country where people are starting to recognise the FM brand. But I'd say as far as 90% of the country is completely has not heard of FM at
Yeah.
all. Now,
Absolutely.
so when people ask me what do I do, a lot of what I do I learn from my mistakes, and I watch what's worked and what hasn't worked, and see ways I can improve it.
Absolutely, absolutely, fantastic. Another more statement than a question from Jan Dunn, who says, "I'm so excited just from sitting with the newbie to help start planning for her free parties, and so much thanks to Jackie, as she has helped me to refocus on individuals rather than feeling stuck." Thank you, Jackie. So that's
That's nice. I mean, again, it just comes from. And again, it's maybe because I failed so badly in networking, and I knew that I could never be that person you see on stage who could be the smooth presenter, who had all those years of training. I've had to learn from my mistakes, and you know, Janine has, you know, came for me for some help, and you know, I just showed her. Again, I introduced her to Danny Johnson. I have a group in FM. It's called Building FM with Danny Johnson. It's open to anyone, you know, from any team. And you know what? A lot of people don't like Danny. A lot of people can't, you know, you just don't like her for whatever reason, and that's fine. However, you know, I have set up a training system, and I'm just going to say this just now, and it's not bragging, it's just fact. Last week, everyone, I don't know how many people are having a good January this month, but for me it's been a challenging January, and I'll share a story with you in a second. But I looked last week, and I have a small team in Facebook, maybe 340, maybe less than that, maybe 320 team members. My team members are on that group. And last Tuesday, when I looked at my total points turnover in FM, 48% of my group turnover came from the 330 people or so that were on that group. So were 0.02% of my business, yet was 48% of my total business.
There you
So,
go.
you know what, as I say to people, judge me on my results, and that's something that worried me, because I just genuinely, when people were asking me, what did you do, how do you, I felt that I couldn't tell them what to do to guarantee success.
Yeah.
You know, you know yourself, there's nobody that works harder on your business than yourself. The training you do is top notch, but not everybody you can get in can get started with this successfully. And
Exactly.
we don't know what works, what doesn't work, and it is very much a case of, we'll try this, we'll try that, and we will, if people stick with it. I have no doubt FM will be $1 billion company. I can already see it happening in my local area. The FM is getting real brand recognition, and I see that we will give Avon a run for their money in 3 to 5 years' time.
Fantastic.
But a lot of it takes mental toughness to stay with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Somebody else is asking, I have a friend in Sweden who wants to join but is concerned due to the laws of liability there. She's concerned if a customer gets burns or reactions from it, they're going to sue her. I'm not sure what to say to her.
Well, I think FM do product liability insurance. Again, all I can give you from this example is, prior to when I started with FM, and that was partly the reason why I couldn't sell perfume to start off with, I was actually allergic to perfume, and to a certain extent I still am. I can't even walk through the high street, you know, the stores, Boots, Debenhams, high street stores, the perfume counters, because it actually brings me out an allergic reaction. But I can actually wear FM fragrances, and a lot of the people in my team who really struggle with fragrances can wear FM fragrances.
Fantastic.
So therefore, I would say that FM fragrances should not cause that reaction, and if people can wear other fragrances, they should be able to wear FM.
Exactly.
However, we always get someone, everyone always knows that person, we've had it just recently, who will deliberately say the fragrances are causing them rashes or whatever. But if that's a worry to you, I would definitely take out product liability insurance, and hopefully that should cover you. I don't know if it's the same in Sweden as it is in the UK.
Yeah. Okay, Mark is saying, where do you go for training? Presentation manual, where would you get that? Not sure what Mark means. If you mean the opportunity presentation that we showed today, you can get that from my website as well, which is theadditionalincome.co.uk, or Stephen Bourne's website, which is simply-thebest.biz. I'm not sure the stuff you use, Jacqueline, for your own team. Is there a website for your team or something like that?
Yeah, I have a lot of I don't know if you know, again, this is going back years ago, a lot of the stuff that I use, I really need to update it. If you look in the FM back office, the old site under training, I myself I came up with a training manual a few years ago. Now, I purposely never put my name to it or any details to it, but you'll see at the back office where you have the getting started training, the writing your contact list, you know, the team building, etc. That is the core of my business. You know, it's obviously in the FM UK back office. At that point, initially the plan was to get all the other leaders to input their parts to it and hopefully come up with something that was a common, you know, it was kind of you know, unified rather than different teams doing different things. I have a completely different training ideas than probably most of the other leaders, just basically based on my experience, who I am, and also where I live, because I know that a lot of the stuff that, you know, your typical network marketing training just wouldn't work in Scotland. I have a team website, and again, it's, if people look on it, there's a lot of stuff on it that you're like, it's not completed, you know, because I've got 25 tasks up there. But I would recommend, again, if anyone wants to join the Building FM and Danny Johnson group, that's absolutely, you're a member of it, so you can add people to that one.
Absolutely.
And also I think years ago I had a website set up called fmgroupsupport.com. but I have not updated that in years. I really need to do it. My own website is fmglobalsuccess.com. Again, I'm in the process of revamping that, just based on what we've learned in the last year, because I think we are evolving, and not only we're evolving, but also the whole network marketing industry is evolving. So we need to look at the social networking trends.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, Lindsay is asking, she's saying, I have a friend who has just signed up with me, but she's not confident with selling, and she's being quite negative with her outlook, and I'm afraid she will fail at the start. Do you have any advice for me as a sponsor how to help her?
All right, cool. I'm really glad this one came up, because this is something that I am adamantly for. Now, a lot of it's where the attitudes where people start from. Now, I was brought up in an environment that maybe wasn't the most conducive to success in some respects. They talk about the writing on your wall. I had a plaque above my fireplace in my home while I was growing up that said, "Blessed are those who expect nothing, because they shall not be disappointed." Now, unfortunately, a high percentage of the UK population, that's their attitude and that's their belief. They look at what's going wrong with an opportunity rather than what's right with the opportunity. Now, it's my belief, now I'm not saying I'm right, but this is just how I believe it, that the majority of people who are struggling with FM, you will find that they'll be struggling in other areas of their life, whether it's financially, whether it's with their marriage, whether it's with their job, their health, whatever. Now, it's all very well teaching those people about how to sell or how they should improve, but the first thing they've got to do is change their attitude. So I have a training, and I'm happy to share it with anyone, that the first two things, there's a 20-minute version of The Secret that's on YouTube. There's a Zig Ziglar training on how, basically, whether you suffer from stinking thinking, and then there's a few Danny Johnson videos. Now, I can virtually guarantee you that people who are struggling and they come with a negative attitude, the sad fact about it is the majority of them will not even take part in that training.
Absolutely.
So what that allows you to do is almost free up your time so you can direct them to that training. They then can watch the training, and then you ask them, have they watched it? Now, if they tell you, the chances are they'll tell you they didn't have time. They'll tell you that they couldn't find it, or their phone isn't working. And in a way, you've got to, as I call FM's a business of sifting and sorting. You've got to actually say who's ready to do it and who's not ready to do it. And it's a true saying that you don't work with those who need it, you work with those who deserve it. And that's always been the philosophy I built my business on. If people aren't going to, it's that you go to doctors and you've got an infection, and it gives you pills, you don't take it, you can't then complain that you've still got the infection or it's worse. Because I do genuinely believe so. I'm happy to share that training with you, because that is the most valuable lesson I've ever learnt with Danny Johnson, is do not listen to what people say, watch what they do.
Absolutely, absolutely. A few more people saying, please let Jacqueline know that her honesty and practicality is much appreciated. That's from Mike Pendragon. And then Mary Mance is saying, a real inspiration. I love Jacqueline's back to basics grassroots approach.
Oh, well, guys, you have no idea how much that means to me, because you know what? I get a lot of flack because of my directness and my honesty, but and it took me a long, long time to be comfortable in my own skin, and I know my reasons for doing FM, and it's not, as I said, not for anyone seen the video, but it's not for about Mercedes cars. It's not, I've got a young girl on my team, just, she hit 21% in December, and to me that was worth more plaudits than anything else. Not only had she made £900 that allowed her to stay at home with her 3 young children, but through the sort of teaching the groups, and through the Danny Johnson group, she's saved the relationship with her husband, she's cut her food bill from £150 a week to £60 a week. Because the bottom line is people will come and go on FM.
Yeah.
People will start FM, they'll be it for a few months. Everyone's seen it. Obviously Mike, Mike Pendragon, who'd mentioned that comment, he was actually, when I first started with FM, I came across some of his training, and some of the training the guys done at the beginning was absolutely amazing, and it helped me just getting started out to see the big picture with FM. And our chap who came up with the 300+1, Stuart Walden, deserves a lot of credit, for the training they've done in the past, which really was inspirational. And I think when you see that, obviously I've grown as a leader, hopefully I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and I will continue to make mistakes along the way, but what gets me is that we can see young people growing, and that's what I want to do. There's so much about FM I love. I'm not saying I love it all. I'm not saying I don't get frustrated with it. However, I know that fundamentally this is a business where people can come in regardless of their background. They can work hard, they can grow as people, and basically they can take time out when they want, they can come back, and nobody gets hurt in the process. So many of business opportunities out there, people end up getting used and abused, and they end up losing a lot of money.
Absolutely.
I don't really care whether too many people make a lot of money in FM, but they will not lose money.
Exactly. A few more people are saying just a thank you so much for your advice and inspiration. Lovely to hear such a down-to-earth attitude. That's from Lindsay. And Ryland is saying what a brilliant down-to-earth realistic session. So lots of people thanking to you, Jacqueline, and I would like to thank you too for your time today. Thank you very much for coming on to this webinar. It is amazing to have you here on the call, and every time I hear you, I learn lots of stuff and I get inspired in this business.
It genuinely does surprise me to hear that, and and I do really thank you, because people like yourself, I look in you and I see you and I see what you've done at the conference. Unfortunately I was let down, and it was so refreshing to see that straight talking, no nonsense approach, and you were fantastic at the conference. And you know what, this is what FM is about. And please, 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 if you take anything from this call, FM is not about Mercedes cars. It's not about people earning £5,000 a month. It's about those people that are earning £200-300 a month. That might be enough to save their house.
Exactly.
That might be enough to, one of my friends, and I give this example, she lives down the bottom of the road to me. She was a practice nurse in the local hospital. Her husband had a very successful electrical business. The recession hit. They're a young family. She was on good money, he was on good money, living the dream. A beautiful big 4 or 5 bedroom house, great lifestyle.
Yeah.
But obviously he has employees. He's having to use the savings to keep their employees just going. Yeah. This girl got to 15% in FM. She has done fantastic sales, 5,000 points of sales. Wow. In the month of November, December. And she says to me, Jackie, FM is what's keeping her family afloat. Her personal hours were cut from £19,000, 19 hours a week down to 6 hours a week. And if it wasn't for the extra income FM gave her, her house would have been repossessed. So let's get real, guys. There's a lot of families hurting out there. Forget about the big £5,000, £6,000 a month you can be earning. You just focus on helping people in your team get Absolutely. An extra couple of £100 a month, and everything else will fall into place.
Fantastic. All right, thank you very much, Jackie. Thank you very much, all of you. So many of you have attended tonight. It is amazing to see such big numbers. Obviously, it wasn't for nothing. You've learned amazing stuff here. All the information that we've learned here and this webinar have been recorded, and I will upload it into the additionalincome.co.uk. So that's the www.theadditionalincome.co.uk, and we will share all of that info there. Fantastic, guys. Have a fantastic week, and I will see you next week. Bye for now. Bye all. Bye, Jackie.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.